Welcome back to the channel. Once again, we got another dress for you. A little bit of corset action. This video is a little lengthy, but I'm gonna try to squeeze it in. Took a while to get it done, but we got it done. A little bit of construction on this one. Without further ado, let's get right up into it. So right here, we started off with our basic skirt pattern. I wanted to mark where our hips were. That line right there is above the knee, and that's like the floor. Now from that mark that's above the knee, I extended that because that's going to be our train to make this dress. I end up cutting this pattern out and putting that to the side for later. Very valuable pattern for this project. Right here you just see me drawing a line of where the hip and above the knee line is. From there you want to create another pattern out of that one. This pattern that we're making right here is going to be the front pattern. When I tell you it's a lot of construction to this dress, it's, I mean, you really gotta pay attention to this. So out of that first pattern, we end up making two patterns for the front. Once again, you want to mark where your hips are. This is very important. You will see why later. Above the knee line. Now from right here, I want it to come down at least like 7 inches. Make that mark right there. Then draw a line across the midsection about 3 inches right of the center line and just connect that curve to that 7 inches that we marked down. Cut that away. Now that's going to be one of your front pieces. Now with the other piece, you want to come from the center line and just draw a line connecting to where the hip area is. You end up cutting that out and you will have something that look like that. So now you should have 3 pieces now. This is the back piece we're going to use. That's one of the front pieces. That's the front bottom and that's the front top layer. If you're following with me, I hope you can try to understand that. But as you go along, you'll see why those pieces are needed. Keep in mind, while making those front pieces, we're just using the extension of the back piece that we made first to just extend that piece. To make that, front of the dress longer. If you can kind of understand what I'm doing right here. You just want to connect that. And you can actually make you a extra piece to that pattern. That way it'll extend all the way down. Now what I want to do is mark a 1 inch mark on that side of the pattern. And from there, you go up 2 inches. Make a mark, go up 2 inches, make a mark, go up 2 more inches, make another mark. Now these are going to be the pleated mark lines. And from there you want to draw a straight line across 2 inches apart. That first line across crosses under the hip line 2 inches. And from there you're just going on up. Cut those lines and you'll have something that look like that. So when you fold it, close those pleats, it'll fit right back into that lining space that you're going to be sewing it on. Right now I'm just cutting out the lining. Extended that all the way down. Now you want to create your back pieces. This is the lining as well. When you open it up, you should have 2 pieces that look like that for the back. This is more lining. And now you want to make your way to the actual fabric that you're going to be cutting. Now we're going to open that one piece of pattern that we made. Use our extended piece to extend that all the way down. Keep in mind when you close that and make those pleats out of this pattern, you're going to be closing this on the piece you made the lining out of. So you want to extend this piece here. Cut it out. Cut your fabric out for the back pieces. Match your lining with your fabrics. Stitch that. Make sure you make little cuts around the curve so when you turn it inside out and press it, it'll lay flat and perfect for you. You should have something that look like that after you're done pressing it. So that's the fabric and the lining that's underneath. And that's just one part of the front. So now right here we're putting the lining to the back pieces, pinning it. That way we have the fabric and the lining. So now we ended up sewing it together and putting our zipper in. When I tell you this dress had me exhausted, all these pieces, really, it's easy to, give up, but I was determined. So now this is the fun part right here. Remember that piece we had that extended? This is the piece that you're gonna make your pleats on. So when you're making those pleats, it moves, in the shape of your lining. And once you sew that, it'll stay in place. But before you do that, you just wanna right side is facing, sew it on the curve, turn it inside out, well, right side up, pleat it to fit inside that lining space. To the best of your ability. Pin it. And you have something that look like that. With the lining underneath and your pleats on top. You should have something that look just like that. So now both pieces are lined. You got that piece that goes underneath and you got that top piece that goes on top. And as you can kind of see, that's pretty much the bottom half of the dress. Come along, pin the front to the back, sew it up on the sides. You should have something that look like that so far. I hope you're still with me. But yeah, now for this next part, I end up grabbing a pattern online. I'm gonna list the link in the description below to the pattern that I used, amongst all the tools that I use for this as well. Once I cut those pieces out, I went on ahead and sewed them on up. Now it was time to make our casing. I ended up sewing, I think it was 2.5 inches by however long I needed, because I'm gonna be making casing. So it really didn't matter how long it was, just as long as I had enough casing to make. So I made a couple strips. I want to say about 3 or 4 strips. And since I was dealing with a stretched satin material, those casings would be a little flimsy trying to fold it and make, casing out of them. So I use fusible interfacing. I ironed it on that, the little strips. I put it on the fusible interfacing. End up cutting those out individually. That way my casing had a little bit more structure to work with instead of a flimsy, stretched satin. So I took it back to the ironing board, manipulated it, folded it in on itself a 1/2 inch, and then I folded that again a 1/4 inch into itself to make that strip. Now that I got that strip, I just iron it and press it down. something like that. And once I get that, you end up seeing how many pieces you may need. We're going to be covering up the seam to this corset part as well as the centerpiece. So you're just going to cut how many you need. Once that's done, you arrange them to see where they're going to go and give it that look. Once you get them, you just want to sew it to cover up those seams as closest to the edge as possible, because you're still going to put boning inside of those. You'll have something that looks like this. Now once that's done, you're also going to have to make those ends of the corset. So like, you know, those end pieces where the eyelets go, you know, where you're going to be lacing it up at. Yeah, that part. So I ended up cutting a couple pieces. I think it was 3 by however long vertically that was. Just enough for those eyelets to sit right in the center of it like that. And that's how I was able to get those. Once that's out the way, I just measure to see how long my boning is going to be. And the boning I use is this plastic boning. And it's gotten me out of a lot of jams. This boning is like the truth, really. Like, I can't go wrong if I ever use it. Now what you see me doing here is cutting out the foam for the bust cups. And what I did was individually just cut them on this foam. I'll see if I can get the description like linked for these, or wherever the hell I got these from. I think it was Hobby Lobby or Walmart. Walmart might have it. But I ended up cutting these out and was very sure of how I arranged these. I didn't want to get these pieces mixed up. And once I took it to the sewing machine, it looked something like that. You want to zigzag stitch those together. Not overlapping, but just zigzagging right together. Once I did that, it was time to pleat the cups. And you're just gonna do this to the best of your ability. This is like really my first time actually even making a dress like this. So when it came to pleating, it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna, pleat the best way I can. Pleat, pin it into the cups. And it came out pretty decent. You just want to make sure all the pleats are fairly even spaced apart. And where you get something that looks like this. So when you sew it to the bust cups and you remove the pins, you have something that looks like that. You just go ahead and cut it and you get something that looks like that. Not bad. For my first time. Had me nervous. I was okay. So now you want to put a lining to that. And what I did here was, I just made a square, a circle out of a square to the best of my ability. That square was about 9 by 9. I ended up folding it and just marking an inch down on the edge on both sides. And from that center point, I marked a line to that inch on both sides. So from the center point of that circle folded in half, I just ended up sewing from that center point to those inches. Open it up, you get something that looks like that. Something that'll have that dip up in it. So when you put that lining on the other side of those bust cups, it'll cave in like, and you won't have a problem with it. So I end up putting those right sides facing, sewing the top only. Just the top, only sew the top. I end up cutting the excess of the top off and just went on ahead and folded that back. Just like that. And that gave me something that's gonna look like that. Now that wasn't enough. So I end up grabbing some hemming tape or whatever the hell they call this tape. I forget what it's called, but I'm gonna call it hemming tape. I end up using that to iron the lining down on the inside so it'll stay. As you can see, that's the front. And now when I used the tape and ironed it on the inside, it laid flat. So what I did was just continue it down, like, just put the strips, layer it all the way down and iron it until I get a flat surface on the reverse side of those cups. And there you have it. You get something that looks like that. That cup is ready to get put in. I told you it was a lot of construction. I'm like, so now you got, if whatever bias, that you made is left over, you want to use that for the trimming of the top of the corset that wraps around to the back, like that trimming that you get. I recommend putting the bonings that's under the bust cup in last. That way when you're sewing those cups in, you're not sewing over, the boning. Once you get those together, there's nothing much left to do but put your eyelets in. I use that ironing tool and this machine to put those together. When I tell you this dress had me exhausted, I'm exhausted now just talking about it. But yeah, that was pretty much the gist of the dress. So the top to the bottom, once you get the bust cups on, the eyelids on, then that's pretty much the dress, guys. Like and subscribe. If you really want a full tutorial of, like these dresses, I'll break it down in sections of, individual requests. But yeah, this is pretty much the gist. Till next time, y'all.